Okay, so you're getting ready for an Equine Yard Manager interview.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. We have some RoleCatcher resources here that can really help you prepare for this and make this deep dive like your secret weapon.
Yeah.
Instead of giving you like generic tips, we're going to actually walk through some real interview questions that you might be
I
asked
love that.
and help you knock your answers out of the park.
What I think is so fascinating is that we can break down what the interviewer is actually looking for with each question. It's almost like a puzzle.
Yeah.
They're trying to get specific pieces out of you, but in a way that presents you in the best possible light.
For sure. And we'll also kind of sprinkle in some career insights along the way as well
Great.
to kind of give you a better picture of what this job is all about.
Hmm.
And since we love efficiency here, we'll even touch on how RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answers and get feedback based on the specific role you're going for. So are you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Hey, this is one that they almost always ask. Walk us through your experience working with horses. It seems very straightforward, but they're really trying to gauge your passion for horses and see how deep your hands-on experience goes.
Got it. So it's not just like I've had this job and this job, right?
Sure. Yeah.
What kind of details would you recommend people include?
I would say think about this as like you're telling your equestrian story. What are the experiences that have really shaped you as an equestrian?
Right.
Was it training a young horse? Was it rehabilitating an injured horse? Was it competing? Like, what are the key moments that really highlight your dedication to horses and your expertise, and share those?
I bet they love to hear those stories. Those are really cool.
Yeah, those are great.
Speaking of stories, I noticed in the interview guide that they might ask, what's your most memorable experience with a horse? That seems like a tough one.
It is. It can feel like a curveball, but it's a fantastic opportunity to reveal your character and for the interviewer to get to know you a little bit better. So think about a time that you had to deal with a challenging horse. Maybe something unexpected happened,
Yeah.
and you had to think on your feet and problem solve, or you had to show a great deal of patience.
Right.
Those are all great things to highlight because they are soft skills that make a really good manager.
That's such a good point. I hadn't thought of it like that. Okay, so speaking of challenges, let's tackle this question. How do you ensure the safety of both horses and staff on the yard that feels like a heavy hitter?
It is, and they really want to know that you take this seriously and you're a responsible leader. And in the career guide, it actually highlights how much emphasis the industry is putting on safety and well-being for both horses and people now.
That's a good point.
So when you're answering this one, don't just list a bunch of rules.
Okay,
Talk about specific protocols that you would implement,
got it.
like using proper restraint techniques when administering medication or enforcing strict helmet rules for a rider.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Good.
It shows that you're not just like saying the right things, you're actually thinking practically.
Exactly.
And what if they follow up with this? What would you do if a staff member repeatedly violated a safety procedure? Like, oh my gosh, now they're getting into it.
Now they're really testing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to see that you're not afraid to address issues head on. So outline your approach. You could say you would give a verbal warning first,
Okay.
and then you'd follow up with a written warning, and then if they continued to violate the rules, further action would be taken.
Yeah.
The key here is to show that you take safety very seriously and you won't compromise on it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit.
Yep.
The interview guide also lists this question. How do you manage and motivate a team of staff? I feel like this is really where like your personality as a leader would shine.
Absolutely. And the career guide emphasizes that communication and interpersonal skills are super important for this role.
For sure.
So this is really your opportunity to showcase your strengths there.
Okay, so how would you recommend that somebody approaches this question? Should they talk about like specific leadership styles or?
Definitely. So do you believe in open communication and fostering a sense of teamwork? Do you prefer a more hands-on approach, or are you more delegative?
Give examples of how you've successfully motivated teams in the past. Maybe even share a time that you had to resolve a conflict or address a performance issue.
Oh, that reminds me, there's another question that I saw that kind of plays into that. How would you deal with a staff member who is consistently underperforming?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
That feels tricky.
It is tricky because you want to find that balance of being supportive, but also holding people accountable.
Right.
So you can mention things like having a process for giving constructive feedback,
Okay.
setting clear expectations and offering opportunities for improvement. And you can even touch on how you would document these conversations.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk about something that I think probably every equine yard manager has to think about, and that is finances.
Yeah.
So the guide mentions this question: how do you manage the financial aspects of running a yard?
Ooh.
I bet this one makes some people sweat a little bit. It can be a little intimidating,
Yeah.
but it's your chance to really impress them with your financial acumen.
Okay.
So don't just say, I'm good with budgets. Share concrete examples. Have you ever found ways to reduce costs without sacrificing quality of care?
Right.
Have you implemented any systems for tracking expenses or negotiating with suppliers?
That's a good point.
Those are the details that'll really impress them.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And what if they kind of dig a little bit deeper and say, how would you prioritize spending if the yard had a limited budget?
Okay.
That feels like they're really looking for your thought process there.
Yeah, they want to see how you make decisions. So I always think about this like you're the captain of a ship
Okay.
and your resources are limited. You
Yeah.
have to prioritize what is absolutely essential for keeping the ship afloat.
I like that.
In this case, it's the horse's well-being and the smooth operation of the yard. So would you prioritize investing in high-quality feed over buying fancy new equipment?
Right.
Would you focus on preventative care to avoid costly vet bills down the line?
Right.
These are the kinds of things you can talk through.
That's a great analogy. I love that. Okay, we can't talk about horses without talking about emergencies.
Right.
The guide mentions this question. Can you describe your experience with equine first aid? I feel like if people have taken like certain first aid courses or anything, this is really where those would shine.
Absolutely. Highlight any formal training that you have, like the ones that we mentioned in the career guide. But even if you don't have specific certifications,
Clear.
showcase your knowledge, talk about common equine injuries, how you would assess them.
Right.
What are the basic first aid steps that you would take? They want to see that you can handle a crisis calmly and effectively.
Yeah, that's super important. And what if they follow up with this? What would you do if a horse sustained a serious injury outside of regular veterinary hours?
Ooh,
Like, oh my gosh.
that's a tough one. They're testing you again.
Yeah.
They are good. They want to see that you're prepared and you have a plan. So you can mention things like keeping a list of emergency contact numbers, knowing the location of the nearest equine hospital, being comfortable administering basic first aid until the vet arrives.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it shows that you are proactive and you take it seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about something that I think is really important for any well-run yard.
Okay.
Cleanliness and maintenance.
Yeah.
So the interview guide asks this question. How do you ensure that the yard is kept clean and well-maintained? I feel like this might be something that people kind of overlook a little bit, but it's really important.
It's super important, and the career guide emphasizes that a clean and safe working environment is super important for both horses and staff.
Right.
So don't just say, I would keep it clean.
Okay.
Talk about your systems for cleaning the stables,
Yeah.
managing manure disposal,
Right.
maintaining equipment, and ensuring the overall tidiness of the yard.
Got it.
Show them that you are organized and you pay attention to detail.
Okay, I like it. And what if they ask, what's your approach to preventing the spread of infectious diseases on the yard? That seems very specific.
It is, but this highlights the importance of biosecurity.
Okay.
So explain your protocols for things like isolating new arrivals, maintaining proper hygiene and disinfecting equipment.
Right.
You could even mention things like vaccination schedules,
Okay.
parasite control programs.
Got it.
Really, the key is to demonstrate your understanding of how to prevent disease from spreading.
That makes sense. It shows that you're thinking about the big picture
Exactly.
and you're not just focused on like the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into a question that might not apply to every yard, but I know it's definitely relevant for some.
Okay.
Can you describe your experience managing a breeding program? I feel like this one's for the people that are really like specialized in this area.
Yes, definitely. But even if you don't have direct experience,
Okay.
you can still showcase your knowledge, so discuss your understanding of breeding principles. Managing mares and stallions, foaling, caring for young stock, and if you've dealt with any reproductive challenges or you have knowledge of assisted reproductive techniques, those are great things to mention as well.
That makes sense. And what if they follow up with, what are the key factors you consider when choosing a stallion for a particular mare?
Okay.
Now they're like really getting into it.
Yeah, now they're getting into the nitty-gritty. They want to see that you understand things like bloodlines, conformation, temperament, performance goals.
Wow.
You could mention researching the stallion's lineage, evaluating his offspring, considering how his traits might complement the mare's strengths and weaknesses.
So it's like a matchmaking service for horses.
Yeah, it's like eHarmony for horses.
I love it. Okay, let's get back to the basics of horse care.
Okay.
So how do you ensure that horses receive appropriate nutrition and exercise? This one seems pretty fundamental.
This is your chance to really showcase your understanding of equine nutrition and exercise physiology.
Okay.
So don't just talk about feeding hay and grain. Mention things like assessing body condition score, tailoring diets to individual needs,
Right.
considering factors like age, workload, and any health conditions the horse might have.
So really like you're considering the whole horse.
Exactly, the whole horse.
And all the different things that go into like their diet and what they need.
Exactly.
Oh, what about exercise? How can people kind of highlight their expertise in that?
Talk about your experience in creating exercise programs that are safe, effective.
Okay.
Tailored to each horse's discipline and fitness level, mention the different types of exercise, from turnout and groundwork to ridden work.
Yeah.
And explain how you would adapt those based on the horse's individual needs.
Got it.
You could even mention the importance of monitoring horses for signs of fatigue or lameness.
Right.
And adjusting their exercise routines accordingly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It shows that you're paying attention to the details.
Yeah.
And that you are prioritizing the horse's well-being. Now, before we move on, I want to kind of touch on something we mentioned earlier, which is RoleCatcher's AI.
Yes.
And how it can really give you an edge in your job search.
Absolutely.
I know that we're kind of in this interview prep mindset.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good point to bring up now because one of the things that I find so helpful about RoleCatcher's AI is its ability to analyze job descriptions.
Yes.
It can actually pull out the keywords and skills that employers are really looking for. And then it can suggest ways for you to incorporate those into your resume in your cover letter.
Yes. It's like having your own personal branding expert who can help you craft the perfect message to get noticed.
Exactly. And it's not just about like the keywords. It's about how you present your experience and your achievements.
Right.
In a way that aligns with what the job requirements are.
Exactly.
And it could even help you figure out what transferable skills you have from previous jobs that might not even be directly related to horses, but are still really valuable for an equine yard manager.
It's like having a secret weapon that can help you stand out from all the other applicants.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the feedback that it provides on practice interview answers is incredible.
Yes.
It's not just generic advice. It's specific to the job that you're applying for.
It's like having a mock interview with a coach who knows exactly what the hiring manager is looking for.
Yes, exactly. So if you are serious about landing that equine yard manager role, this is a fantastic tool.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will continue to tackle these interview questions.
Sounds great. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off with these interview questions. We've got a few more to unpack that really kind of dive into some of the more specialized aspects of equine yard management.
Perfect. I'm ready for the challenge.
All right.
Let's do it. What's next on the list?
Okay, so this one might come up if the yard that you're applying for handles breeding.
Okay.
Can you discuss your experience with equine reproduction? So they're not just looking for a basic understanding here.
Okay, so how can somebody really nail this question and impress the interviewer?
Think about it in layers. So first, share any hands-on experience you have with the breeding process, managing mares and stallions, assisting with foaling, caring for young stock, but then go a layer deeper.
Yeah.
Talk about your understanding of equine reproductive anatomy and physiology. Don't be afraid to get a little technical here. Show them that you understand the science behind it.
Okay, I bet that level of detail really sets somebody apart.
Yes.
And what about those tricky follow-up questions? Like what kind of curveballs can they throw at you?
Oh, they could ask anything from like, what are the signs of estrus in a mare?
Oh, God.
To like explain your approach to handling a difficult birth.
Oh, wow.
They might even ask you about specific breeding techniques or challenges that you face. So be ready for those deeper dives.
Wow. Okay. So you really have to know your style.
You do. But remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you here.
Yeah.
You can practice answering these types of questions and get feedback on how to make your answers even stronger.
I love that. Okay, so let's move on to another question that I think is pretty specialized.
Okay.
Can you describe your experience managing a breeding program? This one feels like it's for the people that really want to like lead the pack.
Absolutely. This isn't just about handling horses. This is about managing the entire operation. So think big picture.
Okay.
Setting breeding goals, selecting suitable mares and stallions, planning matings, coordinating veterinary care, managing records, and even marketing foals.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle.
It is. It is.
So what kind of experience would really impress those interviewers?
Demonstrating a track record of success is key.
Yeah.
So have you improved breeding outcomes at a previous yard? Maybe even increase the profitability of a program.
Right.
If you've implemented new technologies or best practices, definitely highlight those. They want to see that you're not just managing, you're innovating and striving for excellence.
That makes total sense. Okay, so I bet this follow-up question would be something that would really test someone. How would you approach improving the genetic quality of foals born on the yard?
That's a great question. It gets to the heart of breeding.
Right.
They want to see that you understand things like bloodlines, conformation, performance traits. So be ready to discuss your approach to selecting breeding stock and making informed decisions that align with the breeding goals for the yard.
That's really interesting. It's like you're shaping the future of a breed.
You are.
Wow, that's pretty cool. All right, let's shift gears back to, I think, really the core of what equine yard management is all about.
Okay.
Which is making sure that the horses are receiving the best possible care.
Absolutely.
So a question like, how do you ensure that horses receive appropriate nutrition and exercise? I feel like that's almost a guaranteed appearance.
It is. It is. And it's your chance to go beyond the basics.
Okay.
Don't just say, I'd feed them good quality hay and grain.
Right.
Talk about how you would assess a horse's individual needs. Consider factors like their age, their breed, their workload, and any health conditions that they might have.
So it's about tailoring like their diet to their specific requirements.
Exactly.
Okay, so I feel like they would also want to know about how you approach exercise.
Definitely highlight your experience designing exercise programs that are safe, effective, and tailored to each horse's discipline and fitness level.
Okay.
So talk about different types of exercise, from turnout and groundwork to ridden work. Explain how you would adapt those based on the horse's individual needs.
Got it.
And talk about how you monitor for any signs of fatigue or lameness that might indicate that you need to adjust their exercise program.
That makes sense. You're really emphasizing that individualized approach to horse care.
Yes, it's all about the individual horse.
Okay, so here's a question that I think could really trip someone up. How would you adjust a horse's diet and exercise regimen if it started to gain or lose weight unexpectedly?
That's a great question. It tests your ability to be observant and proactive. You want to show them that you're paying attention to those subtle changes in a horse's condition.
For sure.
So explain how you would investigate the cause of the weight fluctuation.
Okay.
Consult with a veterinarian if necessary, and make informed adjustments to both their diet and their exercise program.
Okay, so it's about being really attentive and taking action when necessary.
Exactly.
All right, let's shift to a topic that I think is really essential for any successful yard, and that's staff training and development. How do you approach that? This seems like it goes beyond just teaching people how to do their jobs.
It absolutely does. And the career guide highlights that staff supervision and training are key responsibilities of an equine yard manager.
Right.
So you need to show that you can not only manage people, but also help them grow and develop their skills.
So it's about creating that culture of continuous learning and improvement.
Exactly. Talk about your philosophy on staff training, how you identify training needs, how you develop tailored training programs, and how you provide ongoing feedback and support. If you have experience mentoring or coaching staff members, share specific examples of how you've helped individuals improve their skills and advance their careers.
That makes sense because it shows that you're really invested in your team.
Yes.
And you're helping them succeed.
Absolutely.
Now, what about those staff members that are maybe a little resistant to change or new ways of doing things?
Right.
That can be a challenge for any manager.
It can be. It can be. And they might ask you, how would you handle a situation where a staff member is reluctant to learn a new skill or technique?
Okay.
So be ready to explain your approach to addressing resistance. Emphasize open communication, understanding their concerns, and finding ways to make the learning process positive and encouraging.
So it's about creating a safe space where people feel comfortable
Yes.
asking questions and like trying new things.
Exactly.
Okay, before we move on to the next question, I want to bring up RoleCatcher's AI again.
Okay.
Specifically in its role in interview preparation.
Yes, it is such a valuable tool for anyone who is preparing for an equine yard manager interview.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, one of the things that I find most helpful is its ability to actually analyze the specific job description that you're applying for.
Yes.
And then it can tell you what skills and experience the employer is looking for. And then it helps you tailor your answers
Yes.
to highlight your strengths in those areas.
It's like having a virtual coach who knows exactly what the hiring manager wants to hear.
Exactly. And the feedback that it provides on your practice answers is so helpful.
Yeah.
It can help you strengthen your responses,
Mm-hmm.
make them more concise, make sure that they align with the interviewer's expectations.
And don't forget about the video practice feature.
Oh, that's right.
You can actually record yourself answering the questions
Yeah.
and then get AI-powered feedback on your delivery, your
Wow.
body language, and even your tone of voice.
That's amazing. So it's like having a mock interview with a professional,
Yes,
but all from the comfort of your own home.
exactly.
Okay, so let's dive into a question that I think touches on a less tangible but equally important aspect of the role.
Okay.
What do you consider to be the most important qualities of a successful equine yard manager?
This question is all about showcasing your understanding of what it takes to excel in this role.
Right.
It goes beyond just the technical skills.
Get it
It's
done.
about the personal qualities and leadership traits that make a great manager.
So what would you say are some of the key things that you would highlight if somebody asked you this question?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to have a genuine passion for horses. This job is not for the faint of heart. It's demanding, it can be stressful, and it requires a deep love and respect for these amazing creatures.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be spending countless hours in their company, caring for their needs, ensuring their well-being.
Right.
So that passion is going to fuel your commitment and dedication to this role.
I love that it's really that spark that makes the difference.
Yes.
And I would imagine that strong leadership skills are pretty high on the list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be managing a team of staff, often with varying levels of experience, so you need to be able to motivate them, delegate effectively, provide clear instructions,
Right.
and foster a positive and collaborative environment. It's about setting a good example, being approachable, and earning the respect of your team.
And communication has to be key, right? Especially when you're dealing with clients, horse owners, veterinarians.
Oh my gosh.
All these different personalities.
So many different
You have
personalities.
to be able to communicate.
You have to be a clear and concise communicator, both verbally and in writing.
Right.
You'll be explaining complex concepts, conveying instructions, addressing concerns. It's also really important to be a good listener.
Yes.
Understand different perspectives and find common ground when there are disagreements.
It's like being a diplomat in the horse world.
Yes, you could say that.
Okay, so what other qualities would you want to make sure that you highlight?
Well, a strong work ethic is essential. As we've discussed, this job involves long hours, often including weekends and holidays. You need to be dedicated, reliable, and willing to go the extra mile to ensure that the horses are well cared for and the yard runs smoothly.
It's not your typical 9 to 5.
No, it's
Yeah.
a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
And it takes a certain kind of person to thrive in that environment. You have to be passionate, dedicated, and willing to put in the time and effort
Okay.
and problem-solving skills.
Oh, yeah.
Things rarely go exactly as planned in the equine world.
Never.
Never. You need to be able to think on your feet, adapt to changing situations, and find creative solutions to unexpected challenges.
So you're like a detective and a negotiator
Yes.
and a therapist.
All rolled into one.
I love it, right? And I think this is also a really important thing to highlight, and that's the importance of staying up to date with industry trends and advancements.
Yes, the equine industry is constantly evolving. New research, new technologies, new best practices are emerging all the time, so it's really important for someone in this role to stay informed.
How can somebody in this role make sure that they are staying on top of everything that's happening?
There are a few ways to do this. Professional development is key. Attending industry conferences, workshops, seminars allows you to learn from experts, network with colleagues, gain exposure to new ideas and innovations.
And those certifications that we talked about earlier,
Yes.
they can really play a big role there too.
Absolutely. They not only demonstrate your commitment to professional growth,
Right.
but also show potential employers that you are serious about staying current in your field.
Yeah. And they can give you like a real edge
Yes.
over other candidates.
And don't underestimate the power of staying connected with the wider equestrian community.
Okay.
Reading industry publications, following reputable online resources, and engaging in discussions with fellow professionals.
It's like creating your own personal learning network.
Yes, constantly expanding your knowledge and skill.
And technology has made it so much easier
Oh my God.
to do that.
Whether it's a new feeding program, a groundbreaking training technique, a revolutionary piece of equipment, you can find a wealth of information at your fingertips.
It's amazing.
It is.
Okay, so let's talk about leadership style. How would you describe your approach to leading and motivating a team?
This is a great opportunity to really showcase your understanding of what it takes to build a cohesive and high-performing team.
Okay, so what are some key points that you would recommend that somebody hits when they're answering this question?
Well, I think it's important to start by sharing your overall leadership philosophy.
Okay.
So, do you believe in a collaborative approach where everyone's ideas are valued? Are you more directive, setting clear expectations and providing structured guidance? Or maybe you lean towards a more hands-off approach, empowering your team to take ownership and make decisions.
So it's about finding the style that works best for you
Yes,
and for like the dynamic of the team.
exactly. And then to really bring your answer to life, share specific examples of how you've successfully motivated teams in the past. So maybe you implemented a new training program that boosted staff morale and productivity, or perhaps you found a creative way to recognize and reward your team's hard work and achievements.
I love that those real-life examples really make your answer more impactful.
Yes, they do. And don't be afraid to talk about the challenges that you faced as a leader and how you've overcome them.
Right.
Maybe you had to deal with a conflict between team members or address a performance issue. Sharing those experiences really demonstrates your ability to handle difficult situations effectively.
And it shows that you're not afraid to have those tough conversations,
Yeah.
to find solutions.
Exactly. And remember, this question is also about showcasing your ability to motivate and inspire your team. So talk about how you create a positive and supportive working environment where everyone feels valued and empowered to do their best.
So it's about creating that sense of shared purpose
Yes.
and making everybody feel like they're part of something bigger.
Precisely. And that shared passion for horses can be a really powerful motivator.
Absolutely. All right. So how would you handle a situation where a staff member is consistently underperforming? That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. It's a balancing act, I think, between being supportive but also holding people accountable.
You want to show that you're fair and compassionate, but also firm when necessary.
Yeah.
So start by explaining your process for addressing performance issues. So would you start with an informal conversation,
Right.
providing constructive feedback and setting clear expectations?
Okay.
And then if the underperformance continues, you might need to implement a more formal performance improvement plan.
Right.
This would involve setting specific goals, providing additional training or support, and establishing a timeline for improvement.
So giving them the tools they need to succeed,
Yeah.
but also making it clear that there are consequences if they don't.
Exactly. And remember, documentation is crucial in these situations.
Oh, that's a good point.
Keep detailed records of conversations, performance reviews, and any actions that are taken.
Protects both you and the staff member.
Okay, let's talk about how do you ensure that the yard is kept clean and well-maintained?
This question might seem straightforward, but it's your chance to really showcase your attention to detail and your commitment to creating a safe and healthy environment for both the horses and the staff.
So it's not just about saying I'd keep it clean.
No, go beyond the basics.
Yeah.
Talk about your systems for cleaning the stables, managing manure disposal, maintaining equipment, and ensuring the overall tidiness of the yard.
Okay.
Mention specific protocols that you would implement, like using checklists to ensure that everything is covered, scheduling regular deep cleans, and having a system for reporting and addressing any maintenance issues that arise.
Really showing that you're on top of it.
Yes, being proactive and organized.
And speaking of being proactive, what's your approach to preventing the spread of infectious diseases on the yard?
That's a great question, and it highlights the importance of biosecurity.
Right.
So explain your understanding of how diseases can spread.
Okay.
And outline the protocols that you would put in place to minimize that risk.
So really creating that culture of prevention.
Exactly. Talk about things like isolating new arrivals, maintaining proper hygiene, disinfecting equipment, and having a clear protocol for handling sick horses. You could even mention the importance of educating staff about biosecurity measures and encouraging them to report any potential health concerns.
So making everybody part of that effort.
Yes. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Okay. Let's dive into a question that's near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
How do you prioritize horse welfare in your approach to yard management?
This is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate your passion for horses and your commitment to their well-being.
I love it. So it goes beyond just meeting their basic needs.
Absolutely. Talk about how you go above and beyond to create an environment that promotes their physical and mental health.
Mm,
Mention things like providing ample turnout time, ensuring that they have access to clean water and nutritious feed,
right.
and offering enrichment activities to keep them stimulated and engaged.
So really treating them as individuals.
And respecting their needs.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to share personal anecdotes or examples that showcase your commitment to horse welfare.
Okay.
Maybe you went above and beyond to care for a sick or injured horse, or perhaps you implemented a new training program that improved their quality of life.
Yeah, I think those are the kinds of things that really make an answer stand out.
They do. Those personal touches really matter.
They do. Okay, let's get a little sensitive here.
Okay.
How would you handle a disagreement with a horse owner about their horse's care?
Ooh, that's a challenging situation.
It is, and I think it's one that every equine yard manager has to be prepared for.
Absolutely. You have to be. The key is to approach it with professionalism, empathy, and a focus on finding a resolution that is in the best interest of the horse.
Right, so finding that balance between respecting the owner's wishes,
Yes.
but also advocating for the horse.
Absolutely. So start by explaining that you understand their perspective and you value their input.
Okay.
Then calmly and respectfully present your professional opinion.
Backed up by your knowledge and experience, if there are specific guidelines or protocols in place at the yard,
Right.
make sure that the owner is aware of those as well.
Okay. And what happens if the disagreement kind of continues?
Well, it's important to have a clear process for resolving disputes. This might involve consulting with a veterinarian
Yep.
or another neutral party, or even having a clause in your boarding agreement
Right.
that outlines how these situations will be handled.
That makes sense to have those guidelines in place.
Yes, being prepared is key.
All right, let's move on to a question that's all about managing resources. How would you approach creating a budget for the yard?
This question is your chance to showcase your financial acumen
Okay.
and your understanding of the various expenses involved in running an equine facility.
So much goes into it. Where would you even begin with something like that?
Well, the first step is to gather information about the yard's current financial situation.
Okay.
So income, expenses, any existing budgets. Then you need to identify all of the potential expenses. So things like feed bedding, veterinary care farrier services, staff wages, facility maintenance, and any other operational costs.
It's a long list.
It is, and it's important to be thorough once you have a good understanding of the yard's financial landscape.
Okay.
You can start allocating funds based on priorities and projected needs.
So it's about finding that balance between meeting the horse's needs,
Yes,
but also staying within the financial constraints of the yard.
exactly. You might need to make some tough decisions about where to cut costs or where to invest more resources. And it's important to be transparent with the owners about your budgeting process
Yeah.
and seek their input when making major financial decisions.
Communication is key.
Always.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about a topic that I think sometimes gets overlooked, but is super crucial for any well-run yard. How do you approach record keeping and documentation?
This question might not seem as exciting as some of the others,
Right.
but it is essential for ensuring the smooth operation of the yard and protecting both you and the horses in your care.
So it's about more than just like keeping track of feeding schedules
Oh, yes.
and vet appointments.
Think about all the different types of records that you need to maintain horse health records. Vaccination histories, medication logs, farrier records, breeding records, financial records, staff records. The list goes on.
That is a lot of paperwork.
It can be, but there are systems and tools that can help you stay organized. You could mention using digital record-keeping software,
Okay.
implementing a color-coded filing system, or having a designated area for storing important documents.
So finding a system that works for you,
Yes.
that keeps you organized.
And ensuring that all of those important records are easily accessible when needed.
And I would imagine it's super important for legal reasons as well.
Oh, absolutely. Having accurate and up-to-date records is crucial if there's ever a dispute, an insurance claim, or a legal issue.
So it's about protecting yourself.
Yes.
And the horses.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to how do you stay informed about new developments and trends in the equine industry?
This question is a chance to demonstrate your passion for continuous learning and your commitment to providing the best possible care for the horses.
I love it. So it goes beyond just like reading a few horse magazines.
Yes, definitely talk about the different ways that you stay informed.
Oh,
Attending industry conferences, taking online courses, subscribing to professional journals,
hmm.
and networking with other equine professionals.
So you're really creating that culture of continuous learning, not just for yourself, but for the team.
Exactly. You could mention encouraging your staff to attend training sessions,
Right.
sharing relevant articles or research findings with them, and fostering an environment where everyone feels comfortable asking questions and seeking out new knowledge.
It's creating that shared passion for learning
Yes,
and for growing.
absolutely.
Okay, technology, huge in the equine industry.
Huge.
How do you incorporate technology into your approach to yard management?
This question is an opportunity to showcase your understanding of the various ways that technology can enhance efficiency, communication, and horse care.
For sure. So it's about more than just having a smartphone and a computer.
Definitely talk about the specific technologies that you're familiar with and how you've used them in the past. This could include things like digital record-keeping software, online scheduling tools, horse health monitoring devices,
Wow.
automated feeding systems, and even social media platforms for marketing and communication.
It's crazy how much technology is changing the industry.
It really is, and it's important for equine yard managers to embrace these advancements
Right.
and find ways to integrate them into their operations.
Now, before we move on, I want to talk about RoleCatcher's AI again.
Yes.
Specifically in its role in helping you prepare for these types of interview questions.
It's an invaluable resource for anyone who is serious about landing an equine yard manager position.
One of the things that I find most helpful is its ability to analyze the specific job description that you're applying for.
Yes.
And then it can suggest ways for you to tailor your answers to really make sure that they align with the employer's expectations.
It's like having a personal coach who can help you craft the perfect response to each question.
Exactly. And the feedback it provides on your practice answers is incredible.
Yeah.
It can help you identify areas where you can strengthen your responses, make them more concise, highlight those transferable skills.
And the video practice feature is a game changer.
I love that.
It allows you to record yourself answering the questions
Right.
and then get AI-powered feedback on your delivery, body language, and your tone of voice.
So it's like a mock interview with a professional,
Exactly.
but in your own home.
Yes. RoleCatcher's AI is such a powerful tool, and it can give you that extra edge and boost your confidence going into that interview.
Absolutely. All right, so let's tackle a few more questions before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
What are your salary expectations?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
I know this question can be a little tricky, but it's important to be prepared with a well-researched and reasonable answer.
Agreed.
So how do you determine what's reasonable?
Start by researching industry standards and salaries for similar positions in your area.
Okay.
You can use websites like salary.com or Glassdoor
Mm-hmm.
to get an idea of the average salary range for an equine yard manager.
Okay, so that's a good starting point. And then,
Consider your own experience, skills, and qualifications.
right.
If you have extensive experience, specialized certifications, or a proven track record of success, you can justify asking for a higher salary.
It's about knowing your worth
Yes.
and being able to, articulate it.
Exactly. And it's also important to be flexible and open to negotiation.
Right.
Don't be afraid to discuss your salary expectations with the interviewer
Yeah.
and to explain why you believe you deserve a certain level of compensation.
It's a conversation, not a demand.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are your weaknesses?
Ooh, I know nobody likes talking about their weaknesses.
It's a tough one.
It is, but it's a common interview question, and it's an opportunity to show self-awareness and a commitment to personal growth.
So how do you approach this one without, totally throwing yourself under the bus?
The key is to choose a weakness that's not critical to the role and that you're actively working to improve.
Okay.
So, for example, you could say that you sometimes struggle with delegating tasks, but that you're learning to trust your team and let go of control a little bit.
Yeah. I like that that's a good example because it shows that you're aware of it,
Yes.
but you're also working on it.
Exactly. And it's important to frame your weakness in a positive light, focusing on what you're doing to improve.
So turning that negative into a positive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Showcasing your commitment to growth.
I like it. Okay. Why should we hire you?
Oh, the big one.
It feels like they're asking you to summarize your entire application
It can feel that way.
in a single answer.
But it's a great opportunity to reiterate your key strengths and to explain why you're the best candidate for the job.
Where do you even begin with something like that?
Start by reviewing the job description and highlighting the specific skills and experience that they're looking for.
Okay.
Then think about your own qualifications and how they align with those requirements. What unique strengths and experiences do you bring to the table?
Hmm.
Have you achieved any notable successes in your previous roles?
So really making that connection between your qualifications and what they need.
Exactly. And it's important to be specific and provide concrete examples. So don't just say, I'm a hard worker and I'm passionate about horses.
Right.
Give them tangible evidence of your skills and achievements.
Show them, don't just tell them.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to express your enthusiasm for the role and the opportunity to contribute to their team.
I love that. Let that passion shine through.
Yes, let them see your excitement.
Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the interview. Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, the dreaded question.
That one's tough.
It's always good to have a few questions prepared. It shows that you're engaged, curious, and interested in the position, and it's your chance to gather more information about the role, the team, and the overall culture of the yard.
So what are some good questions to ask?
You could ask about the day-to-day responsibilities of the role,
Okay.
the team dynamics, the yard's overall goals, or any upcoming projects or challenges they might be facing.
So showing that you've done your research.
Yes.
And that you're really thinking about it.
And it's also an opportunity to clarify anything that wasn't covered during the interview or to address any concerns that you might have.
It's your chance to get those questions answered.
Exactly.
Okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, the classic question.
I feel like this one can throw people off guard a little bit.
This question is all about assessing your career goals and your long-term vision.
So it's not just about saying, I want to be an Equine Yard Manager.
Not necessarily. While that's a perfectly valid goal, they want to see that you've given some thought to your career path and that you have aspirations beyond just the immediate role.
Got it.
So think about your long-term goals and how this particular role fits into that vision. Do you see yourself specializing in a particular area of equine management, such as breeding training or rehabilitation?
So it's about showing that you're ambitious and that you're looking to grow.
Yes. And it's also important to align your aspirations with the goals of the yard.
Right.
Do they have plans for expansion or growth in a particular area?
Right.
If so, you could mention how your skills and experience could contribute to those initiatives.
So it's about more than just a job. It's like you're looking for a career.
Yes, a place where you can really make a difference.
And make a contribution.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to be honest about your ambitions.
Yeah.
If you have aspirations to eventually own your own yard or start a related business, don't be afraid to share that.
I think that shows that you're driven.
Yes.
You have a vision.
Absolutely. And it might even spark a conversation about potential opportunities for growth within the organization.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. All right. So as we kind of wrap up this portion of our deep dive,
Okay.
I just want to acknowledge that preparing for an interview can be nerve-wracking,
Oh, it can be so nerve-wracking.
especially for something that you're really passionate about.
Especially for your dream job.
But, I think those nerves are often a sign that you care
Yes.
and that you're taking it seriously. Expert speaker. Okay, so we're back for the last part of our deep dive into Equine Yard Manager interviews.
I feel like we've covered so much.
I know we've covered a lot. We talked about the role itself. We really broke down all those tricky questions.
Yeah.
And we talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you
Absolutely.
prepare for this.
It's a game changer.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something we mentioned earlier, which was RoleCatcher's AI and how it can help you tailor your application materials.
Yeah.
So this is where it all begins, right? Making a good first impression with that killer resume and cover letter.
Absolutely. Remember those days of generic one-size-fits-all applications? Those are gone. RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze the specific job description that you're applying for and pull out the keywords and skills that employers are really looking for, and then it helps you weave those into your resume and cover letter.
It's like having your own personal branding expert telling you how to make them notice you.
Exactly.
And it's not just about keywords either. It's about how you present your experience and your achievements
Yes.
in a way that really matches what they're looking for.
Make it relevant.
Exactly. And it can even help you figure out what transferable skills you have
Yes.
from other jobs that maybe don't even seem related to horses,
Yeah.
but are still valuable for this role.
It's like having the secret weapon that can help you connect the dots and really showcase your full range of abilities.
Yes, and help you stand out from the other applicants.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our application materials on point thanks to RoleCatcher's AI.
Yes.
What do we do next?
Practice, practice, practice. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI really shines again. Remember all those interview questions we went through? It can help you prepare for those as well. It's like having a mock interview with a seasoned expert who knows exactly what hiring managers are looking for.
Yes, and the feedback that it gives you is like pure gold.
It is.
Because it's not just like try harder or you did a good job. It's
Yeah.
very specific and tailored to you.
Yes, and tailored to the specific role
It's
so that
exact.
you can walk into that interview feeling super confident and prepared to knock their socks off.
All right, so we've talked about the role, we talked about the questions,
Mm-hmm.
the prep.
Yes.
What's like the one final takeaway for our listeners who are getting ready for those equine yard manager interviews?
Be authentic.
Yeah.
Let your passion for horses shine through. Showcase your skills and experience, but also let your personality and your values come across.
Yeah.
Hiring managers are not just looking for someone who can tick all the boxes. They're looking for someone who will fit into their team and who shares their vision for the yard.
That's such a good point because skills can be taught. But that love of horses and that commitment to their well-being, that's something special. So be yourself, be prepared, be confident. You got this.
You got this. And here's a final thought for you. What unique skills or experiences do you bring to the table that would make you stand out as an equine yard manager?
That's a great question. And that's a wrap for our deep dive into the world of equine yard management.
I love it.
Remember, RoleCatcher is here to help you every step of the way, from exploring different career paths to landing that dream job. They have so many resources and AI-powered tools that can help you and give you an extra advantage.
Absolutely.
So saddle up, embrace the challenge, and go make your mark in the equestrian world.